Never bring these items on a cruise ship. They could get you kicked off before you even set sail. I'm talking about everyday household items that seem completely harmless, but cruise security will confiscate them faster than you can say bon voyage. Ready to avoid a vacation disaster? Here's what cruise lines don't advertise. They've secretly banned 13 common items that millions of passengers pack without knowing they're breaking the rules. Pack the wrong item, and you'll be watching other passengers board while you're stuck at the port, potentially losing thousands on a ruined vacation. I've spent years talking to cruise employees and passengers who learned these rules the hard way. Some faced confiscation, others got denied boarding entirely. Today, I'm counting down the 13 most shocking everyday items cruise lines have secretly banned, building to the most surprising restriction that'll blow your mind. Picture this. You're standing at cruise security, watching in horror as the agent pulls your trusty power strip from your carry-on and drops it into the confiscation bin. Fire hazard, they say matter-of-factly, like they've done this 1,000 times before. Sarah from Michigan learned this lesson the hard way last year when her entire family's charging setup got tossed at Port Canaveral. Here's why this matters more than you think. Modern cruise cabins typically have exactly 2 electrical outlets, but you're traveling with phones, tablets, cameras, portable batteries, and maybe a laptop. Without a way to charge multiple devices, you'll find yourself playing musical chairs with your electronics, constantly swapping chargers, and dealing with dead batteries right when you want to capture that perfect sunset or stay connected with family back home. Even worse, you might miss important communication about port changes or emergency information that cruise lines send through their apps. The solution is surprisingly simple. Bring a basic power strip without surge protection. Cruise lines allow these because they don't contain the electrical components that create fire risks in ship environments. Look for strips labeled basic or non-surge. They're usually cheaper anyway, and they'll give you those extra outlets you desperately need without triggering security concerns. But wait until you hear about the next electrical item that gets people in trouble. And this one involves something most people pack without thinking twice. Last month, a couple celebrating their anniversary had their romantic cabin setup completely ruined when security discovered scented candles hidden in their luggage during a random inspection. They weren't just confiscated. The couple received a formal warning and had their cabin flagged for additional searches throughout the cruise. The ship's fire safety officer explained that a single candle flame in the confined, oxygen-rich environment of a cruise ship could trigger catastrophic consequences. Think about it this way. You're floating in the middle of the ocean with nowhere to evacuate if fire breaks out. Cruise ships carry thousands of passengers, and their fire suppression systems are designed around eliminating all possible ignition sources. Your romantic candlelit dinner idea becomes a safety nightmare that could endanger everyone aboard. Plus, once you're flagged for violations, crew members will treat you with suspicion for the entire voyage, potentially affecting service and your overall experience. Smart travelers pack LED candles instead. They create the same romantic ambiance without the fire risk, and many newer versions even flicker like real flames. You can find battery-operated candles that last for days and won't trigger any security concerns during luggage screening or cabin inspections. Speaking of creating the right mood, the next banned item also catches people trying to enhance their cabin atmosphere. Maria thought she was being thoughtful when she packed homemade cookies for her grandchildren's first cruise, but customs agents and ship security had different ideas. Not only did they confiscate every single homemade item, but they also detained the family for additional questioning about food safety regulations. The kids were devastated, Maria felt embarrassed, and their boarding process was delayed by over 2 hours, causing them to miss the welcome party and safety drill timing. The consequences go way beyond hurt feelings. Cruise lines operate under strict health department regulations because foodborne illness on a ship creates a floating disaster. There's no easy way to get sick passengers to hospitals, and contamination can spread rapidly through enclosed spaces with shared ventilation systems. When passengers bring homemade food, they're introducing unknown variables that could trigger norovirus outbreaks, food poisoning incidents, or allergic reactions that the ship's medical facility isn't prepared to handle. These health emergencies can force ships to return to port early, costing the cruise line millions and ruining vacations for thousands of passengers. The fix is straightforward. Only bring commercially packaged, sealed snacks with clear ingredient labels and expiration dates. Think individually wrapped granola bars, sealed crackers, or factory packaged cookies that security can easily verify as safe and regulation compliant. But here's where food restrictions get even more complicated. The next item involves something many travelers consider essential for looking presentable. Jennifer packed her travel iron for formal night, thinking she was being prepared and responsible. Instead, she ended up wearing wrinkled dress shirts and a crumpled gown to the captain's dinner because security confiscated her iron during embarkation screening. She tried to explain that she needed it for the formal dress code requirements, but fire safety regulations don't make exceptions for fashion emergencies. No matter how expensive your formal wear or how important the event, the problem extends beyond just looking rumpled in photos. Many cruise lines have strict dress codes for specialty restaurants, formal nights, and exclusive events that you've already paid for or reserved. When your formal clothes arrive wrinkled from packing and you can't press them properly, you might be denied entry to venues you've been looking forward to for months. This is particularly devastating for special occasions like anniversaries, milestone birthdays, or once-in-a-lifetime celebrations where looking your best really matters. Professional travelers solve this by packing wrinkle release spray, which works surprisingly well, or by using the ship's laundry and pressing services. Yes, onboard pressing costs more than doing it yourself, but it's cheaper than missing exclusive dining experiences or feeling underdressed at formal events you've dreamed about attending. The next banned item also relates to looking good, but in a way that might surprise you. Dave thought he was being smart by packing his compact coffee maker to avoid expensive ship coffee, but when cabin steward discovered it during routine cleaning, he faced more than just confiscation. The ship's electrical safety officer had to inspect his entire cabin's wiring system to ensure no damage had occurred. His family was temporarily relocated during the inspection, and they received a formal warning that threatened their ability to cruise with that line again, all for trying to save a few dollars on morning coffee. Here's what makes this particularly costly. When electrical violations are discovered, cruise lines often charge passengers for the inspection process, potential cabin damage, and administrative fees. Dave's money-saving coffee maker ended up costing him over $300 in penalties, plus the embarrassment of explaining to neighboring passengers why maintenance crews were swarming his cabin. Even worse, his name went into the cruise line's database, potentially affecting future booking approvals and cabin assignments. The smarter approach is bringing instant coffee or cold brew concentrate. Both are allowed and satisfy your caffeine needs without risking electrical violations. Many passengers also discover that ship coffee is actually quite good, and the social aspect of meeting other travelers in the cafe areas becomes part of the cruise experience they didn't expect to enjoy. But coffee makers aren't the only kitchen appliances that get passengers in trouble. Wait until you hear about the next common item that seems completely innocent. Linda packed nail scissors in her carry-on toiletry bag, thinking they were too small to matter, but airport-style security screening at cruise terminals follows similar rules to air travel. However, cruise security is often more thorough because you can't just throw items away and buy new ones once you're at sea. Her manicure scissors got confiscated, leaving her with a hangnail situation that became increasingly painful throughout the week-long cruise, and nail care services on the ship were booked solid with no availability. The consequences multiply when you consider that cruise ships often visit remote ports where finding replacement items is difficult or impossible. That small grooming emergency becomes a week-long annoyance that affects your comfort and confidence in photos, formal events, and daily activities. Some passengers have reported minor injuries from trying to deal with hangnails or loose threads without proper tools, leading to infections that required expensive onboard medical attention. Pack any scissors, nail clippers, or sharp grooming tools in your checked luggage only, never in carry-ons or personal bags that go through security screening. Most cruise cabins have basic amenities, but bringing your own high-quality grooming tools ensures you'll be comfortable throughout your voyage. The next restriction affects literally every single passenger, regardless of age or travel style, and the violations can get expensive fast. Tom and Lisa thought they were being clever by bringing extra wine bottles to avoid the ship's inflated drink prices, but they miscalculated the per-person limits and ended up facing corkage fees of $25 per additional bottle, turning their savings into a $200 penalty before they even unpacked. What made it worse was discovering that their violation was noted in the ship's computer system, flagging them for additional alcohol screening at every port of call throughout their cruise. This creates a domino effect that ruins the relaxation factor of your entire vacation. Instead of smoothly reboarding after port excursions, you're pulled aside for additional screening, questioned about purchases, and subjected to bag searches that make you feel like a criminal. Other passengers start recognizing you as those people who got in trouble, and crew members treat you with extra suspicion that affects service quality and your overall cruise experience. The smart move is knowing the exact limits before you pack. Most cruise lines allow 2 bottles of wine per stateroom, but beer, liquor, and champagne have different rules that vary by cruise line. Research your specific cruise line's policy, count carefully, and consider that the convenience and social aspects of ship bars might be worth the extra cost for a truly relaxing vacation. Wait until you hear about number 6. This next restriction catches people completely off guard because it seems so similar to something that's actually allowed. Quick note before we continue. If this video is saving you from expensive cruise mistakes, hit that like button so other travelers can avoid these same disasters. And definitely subscribe because I'm constantly uncovering cruise industry secrets that could save you hundreds of dollars and tons of vacation stress. Trust me, you don't want to learn these lessons the hard way, like the passengers I'm telling you about. All right, let's keep going with the countdown. And the next mistake is absolutely brutal because it involves something most people think should be perfectly fine to bring. Here's where it gets confusing. Mark brought a basic extension cord thinking it was different from the band power strip with surge protector, but ship security treated it exactly the same way. His cord got confiscated, and when he argued that it wasn't a surge protector, the security officer explained that any device extending electrical reach creates fire hazards in ship cabins with their complex wiring systems. Mark ended up unable to charge his CPAP machine from his bedside, forcing him to sleep poorly the entire cruise because the only outlet was across the cabin near the bathroom. This creates serious quality of life issues that affect your entire vacation experience. Medical devices, phones for emergency contact, and comfort items like fans or humidifiers become useless when you can't position them properly in your cabin. You'll find yourself choosing between charging your phone overnight and powering medical equipment, or awkwardly arranging furniture to reach outlets, creating trip hazards in an already cramped space. The solution is bringing longer charging cables instead of extension cords. They serve the same purpose of reaching distant outlets, but don't contain the electrical components that trigger safety concerns. But the next banned item surprises everyone because it seems like such innocent technology that families rely on. The Johnson family brought walkie-talkies to coordinate their group of 12 across different decks and activities, but cabin inspection discovered them on day 3, leading to immediate confiscation and a stern lecture about communication interference. What they didn't realize was that their harmless family radios were potentially disrupting the ship's critical navigation and emergency communication systems. The captain's staff explained that unauthorized radio signals could interfere with Coast Guard communications, port authority coordination, and internal crew emergency protocols. Think about the consequences. You're in the middle of the ocean, completely dependent on the ship's communication systems for navigation, weather updates, emergency coordination, and port clearance. When passenger devices create radio interference, it's not just annoying, it's potentially life-threatening for everyone aboard. The crew needs clear communication channels for medical emergencies, security issues, and coordinating with rescue services if needed. Most modern cruise ships offer excellent cell service and Wi-Fi, plus dedicated apps that let you message other passengers and coordinate meetups without interfering with ship operations. Speaking of communication, wait until you hear about number 4. This one involves something people bring to stay clean and organized. Patricia packed travel-sized disinfectant spray and stain remover, thinking she was being responsible about cabin cleanliness. But when her bottles leaked during transport, it triggered a hazardous material response that shut down an entire luggage processing area for 2 hours. Dozens of passengers faced boarding delays, while cleanup crews dealt with what they initially feared could be a chemical spill emergency. Patricia's helpful cleaning supplies ended up costing the cruise line thousands in delays and safety responses. The ripple effects go far beyond personal embarrassment. When chemical cleaners mix with other substances in luggage holds or leak into ventilation systems, they can create toxic fumes that endanger crew members and other passengers. Cruise ships have strict protocols for handling any unknown chemical substances, which means your innocent cleaning supplies could trigger emergency responses, cabin evacuations, and even Coast Guard involvement if the situation seems serious enough. Professional housekeeping services on cruise ships are actually quite thorough, and requesting extra cleaning or towel changes is usually complimentary. Trust the ship's cleaning protocols rather than bringing potentially hazardous chemicals that could create expensive emergencies. The next item seems so innocent that people are shocked when it gets confiscated, and the reasoning will surprise you. Robert wanted to surprise his wife with fresh roses for their anniversary cruise, but agricultural inspection officers confiscated them before boarding, explaining that plants could carry invasive species, diseases, or pests that could devastate ecosystems at destination ports. What seemed like a romantic gesture became an expensive lesson in international agricultural law, when he also faced additional questioning and baggage screening that delayed their romantic dinner reservations. This isn't just bureaucratic nonsense, it's serious environmental protection. Cruise ships visit multiple countries with different ecosystems, and introducing invasive species or plant diseases could cause ecological disasters costing millions of dollars and destroying local environments that depend on tourism. Even seemingly harmless flowers can carry microscopic pests or fungal spores that devastate native plants, affecting entire island economies that rely on natural beauty to attract visitors. Ship florists and gift shops offer beautiful fresh flowers at most ports, or you can bring high-quality artificial flowers that create the same romantic effect without triggering agricultural concerns or environmental risks. We're down to the final two most shocking items, and number 2 involves something fitness-conscious travelers pack without thinking twice. Jessica brought resistance bands and a compact exercise device with internal springs, thinking she was being health-conscious. But ship safety officers explained that spring-loaded equipment poses injury risk in moving ship environments where unexpected waves can throw people off balance. Her equipment got confiscated, but worse, she learned this lesson when another passenger was seriously injured by spring-loaded equipment that snapped back during rough seas, requiring expensive emergency medical treatment and a helicopter evacuation. The physics of spring-loaded devices become dangerous on moving ships where your balance and positioning constantly shift. Equipment that's perfectly safe on solid ground can become projectiles or cause severe injuries when combined with ship movement, especially during rough weather when you're trying to maintain workouts in cramped cabin spaces. Insurance companies have documented numerous serious injuries from passengers bringing inappropriate exercise equipment on cruises. Ship fitness centers are actually well-equipped with professionally maintained equipment designed for marine environments, and many offer personal training sessions that account for ship movement and safety considerations. And now the number 1 most surprising everyday item that cruise lines have secretly banned. This one will absolutely blow your mind. Here's the most shocking ban of all. Margaret's reading magnifying glass got confiscated because it can concentrate sunlight into fire-starting temperatures, creating what security called an uncontrolled ignition risk. She laughed, thinking they were joking, until the officer demonstrated by focusing sunlight through her magnifying glass onto paper, which immediately started smoking. On a ship where fire safety is absolutely critical, even innocent magnifying glasses become potential fire hazards when left near windows or on sunny decks. This creates real problems for passengers who need magnification for reading fine print on excursion details, medication labels, or ship daily schedules. Without proper magnification, people make expensive mistakes booking wrong excursions, taking incorrect medications, or missing important ship announcements about port changes or safety information. The consequences multiply when you're in foreign ports where language barriers make reading comprehension even more critical. The simple solution is bringing reading glasses with appropriate magnification instead of magnifying glasses. They serve the same purpose for close-up reading without creating fire safety concerns that could endanger everyone aboard. There you have it. 13 everyday items that cruise lines have secretly banned. And honestly, some of these restrictions seem completely crazy until you understand the safety reasoning behind them. From power strips that could spark electrical fires to magnifying glasses that can literally start fires with sunlight, these bans exist because cruise ships are floating cities where small problems become massive disasters fast. The cruise industry keeps these restrictions buried in fine print because they know most passengers would panic if they realized how many common items are forbidden. But now you're armed with insider knowledge that'll save you from expensive confiscations, embarrassing security delays, and potentially ruined vacations. Share this video with anyone planning a cruise. Trust me, they'll thank you when they're not the ones getting pulled aside at security. I want to hear from you in the comments. Type "smooth sailing" if you learned something new today, or tell me which banned item shocked you the most. Did you almost pack any of these cruise no-nos? Have you had items confiscated before? Your stories help other travelers avoid the same mistakes. Thanks for watching, and remember, preparation prevents cruise catastrophes. Until next time, may all your voyages be smooth sailing.